What is up, YouTube? YGL 2010 here, and today I'm going to bring you another episode of Fighting the Meta. And today I'm going to talk about one of the two most anticipated decks coming out of Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy, and that is Elemental Dragons, or Dragon Ruler, whatever you want to call them, Incarnate, Suppressor. It's all the same thing. The broke ass level 7 dragons that just swarm the field, make Drago sack, pop your stuff, make Big Eye take your stuff, and proceed to win after that. And I'm going to go over every card that they use, and then some cards that they tech in. Then I'm going to go over the main ways to beat the deck, and also how to do the main combos of the deck. First up, we got Blaster, Elemental Dragon, Elemental Dragon of Fire, whatever. Sorry about that, I had a text message. And you know, all of them have the same standard effect. You can banish 2 dragon types or 2 dragons of the element. This time it's going to be fire, and special summon it from your hand or grave. And keep in mind, you can banish 1 from your hand and 1 from your grave too when you do their effects. And then you special summon him, and his second effect is you can discard him and another fire type monster to destroy 1 card in your opponent's side of the field. And basically he's your field control, and he's your strongest elemental dragon, being at a whopping 2800. That stops a lot of decks. Like, by himself he is stronger than anything a Mermail player can put out. Like, they can only go toe to toe with it with Gaios. So he's a powerhouse. He's field control, and you can just go off with him next turn. And they all also have this clause where you can only pick one of their effects to do per turn, and you can only activate one of those effects that turn. So it's got 2 different effects. Once you activate one, it's got 3 different effects. Once you activate one of those effects, that's the only effect of Blaster you can do for the remainder of that turn. The third effect is, when it's banished, you can add a fire dragon type monster from your deck to your hand. And generally what I like to do is, if I have to banish him to summon another one, I will add his baby form, which is Burner, from my deck to my hand, and summon another one from the deck with Burner's effect, and then overlay or whatever I have to do at that point. And if you special summon every elemental dragon by their effect, they are returned to your hand during your opponent's end phase. Alright, moving right along. Next up is Tidal. This one is second strongest with 2600 attack, 2000 defense. Pretty decent effect. He same, banish 2 dragons. You can do 1 from hand, 1 from grave, 2 from grave, 2 from hand, whatever floats your fancy, and special summon it. His unique effect is you can discard him and another water monster to the grave to send a monster from your deck to the graveyard. So he has a lot of synergy in pure water decks. Like, I play him for fun in a all water deck, and it's so amazing how I can just constantly bring him back turn after turn and recycle him and Poseidra, the water dragon that came out of the structure deck. And like, the plays in there, I can make rank 7s as much as I can in the pure elemental dragon deck. But he has good synergy in any water based deck, and he got the return to your hand during your opponent's end phase clause as well. Next up is Tempest. I'd say his effect, he's probably tied for second with me for his effect, because I like the lad build of the deck. So being able to search out what I want to first turn is just great. And his unique effect is I can discard him and another wind type monster to add a dragon monster from my deck to my hand. And that can let me add lad, let me add a baby dragon, let me add a regular elemental dragon. It's so much stuff I can just add to hand with just that effect alone. And in my lad build, I like to main Droll and Lockbird, so getting his effect off is just even more viable now, especially since everybody's like shying away from running more than one of Lightning, his baby dragon form. So having those extra win targets and then them never being dead on top of that is just another great thing to add to it. He is the second weakest in terms of attack. Got decent defense to make up for it though, 2200 defense. And then next, last but not least, is Red Ox. And this guy has the biggest defense out of all of them with 3000 attack, but he's lacking with the 3000 defense, and he's lacking in attack points. He's only 1600, but sitting on 3000 defense, just amazing right now, because people have to waste effects to get over that, or use an effect to match that just to get over it. His unique effect is you can discard him and another earth monster to special summon one monster from your graveyard. And his effect, that's the guy that I was saying is tied for second with me. Number one, hands down, is Blaster. Because I don't main MSTs. I don't think any Elemental Dragon player mains MST. But if it was a pure dragon build, he would hands down be second place. But like I said, I fancy the lad build right now, so I can't decide if adding lad or special summoning back from grave is better for me. But 3000 defense, he's the big booty bitch out of all of them. And moving on to the baby dragons now. First up, we got Burner, Dragon Ruler of Fire. Simple effect. You can discard him and another dragon, or him and another fire type to special summon one blaster from your deck. Not hand or deck, just from the deck. So if you have it in your hand, if you use two and you have the third one in your hand, you cannot use his effect. But you can only use this effect once per turn, and the main combo that I see happening is if you have the Super Rejuvenation, you activate that, discard a baby and another random dragon, special summon the big one, then use your in-hand dragon to banish those two to bring out another one, overlay for Drago Sack, make tokens, sack tokens for lad. It's simple. I really haven't played any decks that I've really had to just be like, oh my god, lad sucks right now. If anything, I said that about Red MD, because he has no synergy in my opinion with the deck, which is why I'm not including him as a part of the talk about it. I feel like Red MD, after testing with him, he hasn't, like, he's a one-trick pony. Like, you bring the dragon out, or you have a dragon out, whatever, banish it to summon Red Eyes, you get the search, and then Red Eyes effect, special back from grave, and then bring out the one you just added, whatever. It's just, after that, they're going to kill the Red Eyes. And in this deck, the Earth Elemental Dragon is the only way to bring Red Eyes back from grave. And I would much rather make an Exceed than bring him back and then try and hope that I have a monster that's worth the time of bringing back from grave. And also, for you Lava players out here, back to Burner, he's 200 defense and 3 stars. So he works extremely well in a Lava deck with Rekindling. Next up, we got Stream, Dragon Rule of Water, the baby form of Tidal. Same effect, nice defense, 2000 defense, 16 attack, kind of well rounded. If need be, you can just sit on him. Then we got Lightning, Dragon Ruler of Wind, 500 attack, 18 defense. Probably the worst dragon out of all the babies, just because he is so weak. Like, so many things run over 1800 right now, and not only base attack, but you got effects that boost to over 1800. So I can see why people are dropping him down just based off of his stats alone. Like the effect, same effect as all the rest of the baby dragons, but those stats are just yuck. Um, Moving right along. Last but not least is reacting. Surprisingly, it's the exact opposite with reacting, where Red Ox was the weakest physical attacker. He is the strongest physical attacker out of the baby dragons. Same effect, pitch him and an Earth or a Dragon special Red Ox from the deck. And 1800 attack is better than 500 attack or 18 defense. He's the strongest baby out of all of them. And depending on what deck you're playing against, you might be able to get away with keeping him on field a turn or two. Maybe. Next up is the build that I love, which is the Drago Lad build that goes Lad first turn. And the main play is, like I said a few seconds ago, was discard a baby dragon and another dragon or whatever. Special summon a big one. Let's say discard Reactin and Eclipse Wyvern. And special summon Red Ox. Wyvern's effect will banish Lad, and then use your in-hand Blaster, banish Reactin and Wyvern to special Blaster. Then you get to add Lad to your hand, overlay for Drago Sack, make your 2 tokens, sack your 2 tokens off for Lad, and you still got, I think, 3 cards in hand after that. Yeah, you still have 3 cards in hand after that. And then your opponent is sitting there like, man, I gotta waste three or 4 cards, two or three minimum cards, just to be able to get over this Lad. And then after that, like, you got a dragon coming back when they do actually kill the Light and Darkness dragon. So it's pretty lose-lose with him. Here's one of the staple cards of the deck, Gold Sark. And I'm pretty sure all of you know what Gold Sark does by now. Banish a card, 2 turns from now, 2 standby phases from now, you get it to your hand. This card is hands down amazing, the best card in the deck, because you banish the dragon and then you add it to your hand right then and there, point blank. You can add the baby to your hand, go off, or you can just add another copy of it to your hand and set up for later. But just the fact that Gold Sark in 2 turns is a +1 in the deck, like, the deck is already just amazing in the long run of a game. But to have cards that are like +1s, and this isn't even the instant +1. The instant +1 is 7-star sword, which is another pretty decent card in the deck. I personally don't like 7-star sword, but it's personal preference. You banish a level 7 from your hand or your field, and then draw 2. And then if you banish the dragon, you get to search. So it's a +1 right then and there. But I'm more, of course, more of a fan of Gold Sark. It's like running 3 rotors in the deck, so I could see this card getting limited, definitely semi in September. Another staple card in the deck is Super Rejuvenation. Works wonders in the baby. Works wonders with the baby suppressor dragons. And anytime a dragon's discarded or tributed this turn, you get to draw 1 card during your end phase. And it works the same way as Justice of Prophecy. The card didn't have to already be activated. The game state remembers that many dragons were discarded. So if you play with Super Rejuvenation, draw, and then you draw another Rejuvenation, let's say you drew 3 cards off of the first one, it's still the end phase, so you can play the one you just drew to draw 3 more cards. Amazing card. Another card that is really good in the deck is Return from Different Dimension, especially late game. You know, when you've both been going tit for tat, and then you just draw this card, set it, go. You got 17 cards removed from play. Flip this over and just be like, is that game? I see a lot of people citing it though. I mean, half your life points is a hefty price, but when you bring in when you're bringing back like 11,000 worth of attack points, I say sometimes it's worth it. For the extra deck, we start off with Gaia Dragon. He's more of a backup, you know, in case you run out of other Exceed monsters. And for the people that like to sit on Spirit Reaper and you can't get the tuner, which would be either Dragoonity Corseska or something like that, Flamveil Guard, or Effect Veiler. One of those three. I personally like Effect Veiler out of all of them. And it pierces, you know, doesn't do any. Only thing is, he sits on his materials. You can't do anything with him after you exceed for him until he leaves the field. Next up is Dragosack, the card everybody's talking about this set. This card is so good. It's borderline busted. Just the fact that it's a generic with his effect is what makes him even more ridiculous. He, like all the Exceeds that I'm naming, it's 2 level 7s. Once per turn, you can detach a material, special summon 2 Mecha Phantom Beast tokens. And while you control a Mecha Phantom Beast token, he can't be destroyed by battle or card effects. So you have to essentially remove him, or banish him, or return him to the extra deck. Those are the only 2 ways that you can get rid of him while there's a token on the field. And just the fact that he generates 2 tokens, that is problematic in and of itself. And then his second effect is, once per turn, you contribute a Mecha Phantom Beast monster and target a card on the field, and then destroy that target, but he can't attack the turn. So the destruction effect, you don't even have to detach to activate that. It's just like Diamond Dire Wolf and Scrap Dragon. It's amazing. So this card, it generates 1-for-1 destruction and generates its own protection. So just amazing. Next up is Abyss Gaios. You know, you run 2 of Tidal, which is a level 7 water. So you bring out 2 titles, and then you can sit on this guy, and he is just great. Like, you can bring him out in the mirror match and force them to go into an Exceed. And if they don't have Abyss Gaios, then they're just going to be stuck, because they're all over level 7, so they can't. They're all over level 5, so they can't attack. Big Eye is less than 2,800, so you can negate his effect. Dragosack's under 2,800, you can negate his effect. And Gaia Thundercharger is not. It doesn't really have an effect for you that you would want to waste a negation on, but it's weaker. So he is the strongest rank 7 that you could bring out against the mirror match first turn and just sit on it, because there's nothing they can do. They have to use like Blaster or something to get rid of him. And last but not least is Big Eye. This is probably the MVP when I play with my Drago Lad build. It's just, I probably go through all 3 of him every game. I'll probably go through 1 Dragosack, but this guy, I go through him constantly, especially with decks that are starting, you know, people are starting to tech the elemental dragons in their pure element decks. So I bring him out, detach, take their guy, and then bring my guy just detached out, and then make Dragosack or whatever calls for the situation. So it's just amazing. This card is probably MVP for me, like I said, and I love him. No homo. And I told you guys all about the power plays and the Drago Lad build. It's pretty straightforward. Discard a baby and a dragon, summon a big one, banish those, summon another one, and overlay for whatever rank 7 is according to the situation. Now I'm going to talk to you guys about some counter tactics. Number 1 on the list would be Imperial Iron Wall. Cards cannot be removed from play. And with this card, although they do side in the MSTs game 2 depending on what deck they're playing, and they still have the blaster discard, this card right here, if they don't have that stuff, which is very likely, then they're just going to be like, oh man, I got all these dragons in hand, no babies, I can't do anything, I'm just going to have to sit here and then my turn. And you can just keep attacking, keep attacking, keep attacking until they finally get an answer, by which point you'll probably have advantage over them. Just gotta hope that you open with the Iron Wall and they don't open Nutty. Next up is Soul Drain. This card gained popularity when Mermails rose to tier 1 recently. Mainly people use it to stop graveyard effects, but it also stops monsters that are banished. And I haven't really had to use it for banishing effects, but this card, it won't stop your dragons from activating in hand, but if they have them engraved, they can't activate them. And then when they banish an elemental dragon, they won't get the effect of that. So essentially it's not going to be plus plus plus, it's going to be 1 for 1 or neg 1 to come to the field. Next up is just general special summon stopping altogether. Archlord Christia. If you can play this card, I suggest you do, because their only out to this would be breakthrough skill or siding the Rykos or something of that nature. Like I said, if you can play it, play it. This card is so good against the deck, and only one of the monsters goes toe to toe with it, and that's Blaster, and they can't even summon it. The one card deck, Weevil Swarm Ophion. Everybody knows and hates this guy. You make him detach a material, get Pandemic, and you just sit on him having that one material. And for the extra hateful people out there, they set the safe zone or the dress, one of the two, and then you're just like, man, he just played dress, what do I do? You know, it gets annoying. No other way to say it. It just gets annoying. Another card, Fossil Dyna. You can either be hateful, summon it first turn, and attempt to sit on it, but he runs the risk of the baby dragons just running him over and be like, hey, look, I was normal summoned. Or you can set him, have them go off, and then attack, and then be like, oh no, my whole field is wiped now, you know. Next up is Crimson Blader. Oh man, Konami should have made this card Ultra. This card is just one of the best synchro monsters out right now. It shuts down so many decks coming out. It makes gadgets just go back to just pure gadgets, Machina gadgets or whatever, with no fortress, no sir. Elemental dragons can't do anything. They just have to take a direct hit next turn. What else? Prophecy can't go off. You know, their monster, their win condition is stuck in hand. The Rogue 6 Sam decks, they can't do anything. Oh, Grappa? No, you're not coming back next turn. You know, he's just amazing. 2800 attack, and the fact that he says you can't normal or special summon. If it was just special summon, it would be okay, but you can't even normal summon. He's like a powered up Ophion. And last but not least is mind drain or mental drain, whatever we're gonna call it over here. So, pay 1,000, and monsters in hand can't activate their effects that start a chain. So anything that would start a chain in hand, like Honest, the baby elemental dragons, and the big elemental dragons, all of their effects start a chain, and basically every hand trap starts a chain. So none of that stuff. Like the Silent Enigma said, you need to only flip this card if you're going for game. Like, do it during their end phase, then that's when you go for game. Because if you're trying to do it and get them to not, get major hand advantage, like they could just really chain the max C to it. Like a wind up player going first turn, activating D Fissure, that's just telegraphing to you that they're about to go off. So that's just saying, hey, I'm playing D Fissure, you should drop the max C right now. That way I won't go off against you and just murk you with no answers from you. But that's the main key points that I want to discuss with you guys today. I know this is gonna be a tough deck to beat next format, and next deck I'm gonna bring up for you guys is Prophecy. So I'm gonna try and get some advice from my friends and talk about it and get the most devastating cards out of the deck for you. Tell you how to counter it, easy ways to play it, all that nonsense. Alright guys, YGO out.